Have you ever wondered why do anime main characters get the lamest powers? Picture this. You're watching your favorite anime, and the villain just pulled off the most insane ability you've ever seen. They're manipulating time, bending reality, controlling minds. It's incredible. Then the camera cuts to the hero, and their big move is they hit things really hard. Wait, what? I started noticing this pattern everywhere. So I went down a rabbit hole researching dozens of anime to figure out why writers keep doing this. And what I found out changes everything about how we should think about power systems. Let me show you what I mean. In Naruto, you got jutsu that manipulates minds, controls sand, summon giant creatures, and literally rewrite reality with godlike eyes. Then there's Naruto. His special ability, he makes hundreds of shadow clones and shoots a spinning ball of chakra. That is it. And the number of variations he makes on that jutsu is crazy. Meanwhile, his enemies are bending space-time and trapping people in infinite loops. In JJK, Gojo has infinity and can literally erase matter. Megumi can summon Shikigami and fuse them to some really weird combinations. And then Yuji, he punches hard and is athletic. He doesn't even have a curse technique in the anime yet. In Hunter x Hunter, you got Nen users who steal abilities, manipulate probability, control people like puppets, and create unbreakable post-mortem curses. And in Gon's ability, the son of Gene freaks. Rock, paper, scissors. Seriously? I mean, does it look cool? Absolutely. Complicated? Not even close. And here's the thing. Villains are supposed to feel unfair. Their powers reflect chaos, unpredictability, and how overwhelming the world feels. When a villain can rewrite reality, it feels like the story itself is stacked against the main character. So when the hero steps in with something small, something simple, something human, it makes every win feel impossible. So why do we remember these simple powers more than the flashy ones? It's because simple powers are designed to be played with. That's the secret. Then I remembered being a kid watching Naruto. I didn't try recreating complex jutsus. I stuck out my hand and pretended to charge up a Rasengan over and over. Nobody's out here role-playing Kurapika's chain restrictions or Knuckles' compound interest Nen. But a Kamehameha, a Rasengan, a Deku Smash. Everyone knows how those feel. Simple abilities become cultural icons because anyone can imitate them. They jump off the screen and into playgrounds, memes, and imagination. The most iconic moments aren't the most complex ones. They're the ones you can recreate with your own body. But there's more to it than just playground appeal, because once you look past the surface, these born powers unlock something way more important: better storytelling. Simple powers equal creative fights. Here's the paradox. The more limited your power, the more creative you have to be, which makes the story more interesting. Luffy's ability is just rubber. But because the rules are clear, Oda can get insanely creative. Rubber bounces, rubber stretches, it does a bunch of stuff. And he took advantage of that logic to create the gears. They aren't just random upgrades, they're a logical extension of what rubber already does. Gear 2nd pumps blood faster using rubber elasticity. Gear 3rd inflates bones like balloons. Gear 4th combines compressed rubber with hockey for explosive power. Now imagine a power like I control probability. It sounds badass, but dramatically, it's kind of empty. Every solution becomes, I make myself win. There's no cleverness, no physics, no tension. Simple powers force writers to be inventive. Overpowered ones let them skip most of the work. When Luffy beat an L, it wasn't because he got some random power-up. It's because rubber doesn't conduct electricity. The author takes advantage of the simple rules of his powers, and the audience gets to feel smart for understanding why it worked. This is why simple protagonist powers create better fight choreography. Think about how Deku fights. Every single battle is a math problem. Can his bones handle 20%? What if he focuses the power into his fingers for a long-range attack? Should he risk 100% in one arm to create an opening? Every decision has consequences we can predict and understand. Compare that to a character who just has more power when he needs it. There's no strategy to analyze, no clever positioning, no resource management. Look at how Asta fights in Black Clover. He can't fly, well, in the beginning. He can't shoot projectiles. He has to think about distance, timing, and how to close gaps against opponents who can attack from anywhere. Watch his fight against the evil elf guy. He uses the environment, creates openings through pure spatial awareness, and takes advantage of no one being able to sense him because of his lack of magic. The limitations make him smarter. Or take Tanjiro combining water breathing forms. He's not only getting better at using the forms, but understanding demon attacks and how to best counter them. He's also taking advantage of the stability of the water form to combine other natures. When he finally lands a hit, we understand exactly why it worked. The animator can't just draw reality warps and the hero wins. They have to show footwork, positioning, timing, and physics. Every move matters because there's no magic button that solves everything. Now, simple powers make growth visible in a way complex powers can never do. When Naruto spends weeks learning to add wind chakra to the Rasengan, we understand exactly what changed. The technique got sharper, faster, more destructive. We can see the improvement with our own eyes. But when a character with a complex ability just gets stronger, it usually happens off-screen, or suddenly they have a new application of their power that makes perfect sense in retrospect, but we never saw them work towards it. The connection between effort and reward disappears entirely. This is why training arcs work better with simple powers. Rock Lee spending years perfecting taijutsu hits harder than someone unlocking their 7-dimensional seal or whatever. His growth is believable and we can track it. First he opens the first gate, then third, then fifth. Each step is concrete and easy to understand. And here's the practical side. If your hero starts with a god tier, hyper complex ability, where do you go next? Every new arc has to introduce something even more absurd. That's how stories spiral into timeline erasing, reality resetting chaos by season 3. But if your hero starts small, the world can grow around them without losing the tension. Dragon Ball is a cautionary tale here. Goku started simple. He was just a young kid who could shoot energy blasts on occasion. But the escalation got out of control. Now we're at multiversal gods and timeline-breaking power levels. The simplicity has long been gone. Compared that to One Piece, Luffy is still just rubber. The world got more complex, Haki awakenings, advanced applications, but his core power stayed simple. That's sustainable escalation. And this is where I noticed something else. Shows with simple protagonists almost always have a better ensemble cast. And that's not a coincidence. Asta's anti-magic is perfect for this. By himself, he's just a guy with a sword. But put him on a team with Noel, Luck, and Magna. Suddenly, his simplicity makes their magic more impressive by contrast. His sword creates openings, their spells exploit them. It's collaborative. If Asta had a complex, self-sufficient power, he wouldn't really need teammates. He just solved every problem by himself. But because he's limited, the squad matters. When the protagonist has the most boring power, side characters get to be useful. Their unique abilities aren't overshadowed. You get actual team strategies instead of the main character does everything while others watch. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about protagonists with complex powers who do work? Fair question, because there are exceptions. And the answer is yes, if the story is built around it. Lelouch, for example, is overpowered. Absolute obedience with eye contact. But the story makes it work by focusing on the political and moral consequences. The complexity creates ethical dilemmas. Light's Death Note is the same. The rules are intricate, but that's because the story is a cat and mouse thriller. The complexity creates the tension. These work because the story's focus aligns with the power's nature. But notice, none of these are traditional battle shonen. They're psychological thrillers, political dramas, and detective shows. When the story is fight strong opponents, simple powers work better. So why does Shōnen specifically use this pattern? Because Shōnen isn't about having the best power, it's about earning the win. Think about what separates Shōnen from other genres. Seinen shows like Berserk or Vinland Saga can give their protagonists overwhelming strength because their stories are about trauma, revenge, or the consequences of violence. The power level isn't the point, but Shōnen, the entire genre, is built on one premise: watching someone succeed through effort in a world that rewards natural talent. That's why the pattern exists. When Naruto has the simplest jutsu in a world of genius bloodlines and godlike eyes, the story becomes outcast proves effort beats genius. If Naruto had the strongest jutsu from day one, the same story becomes Chosen One uses inherited gift. Completely different narrative. When Deku starts with a power that destroys his own body in a school full of people who've mastered their quirks since childhood, the story becomes hard work and strategy can compete with natural talent. If he could use One for All perfectly from the start, it's just strongest guy wins. When Tanjiro has basic breathing techniques while fighting demons with centuries of experience and blood magic, The story becomes discipline and creativity overcome raw power. If you had the most complex breathing style, it's just best technique wins. Simple protagonist powers aren't a limitation, they're the genre's thesis statement. Shōnen is fundamentally about the underdog, not the tragic underdog, not the accidental underdog, the deliberate underdog. Someone who chooses to compete despite having fewer advantages. And you can't tell that story if your protagonist has the best ability. That is why the pattern shows up across decades of Shōnen. It's not a trend, it's the genre understanding what it's actually about. The power is just a vehicle for the real story. Effort, creativity, determination, and growth. And when you understand that, you realize that these boring powers aren't boring at all. They're the entire point. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Make sure to subscribe for more content, and see you next time.